In this episode, I'll show you how to save images using graduated filters in Lightroom.
Adorama TV presents Exploring Photography with Mark Wallace, where you will learn innovative techniques on shooting a wide range of photography. Here's your host.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Exploring Photography right here on Adorama TV. It's brought to you by Adorama. It's the camera store that has everything for photographers like you and me. Well, sometimes you're stuck when you don't have the ability to shoot at the perfect time of day like I am right now. I've got this beach right here. It's pretty cool, but the sun is not in the place I want it to be. Ideally, I'd shoot at the golden hour, right when the sun is coming up, or right at sunset, get a beautiful sky and a perfect water, but sometimes you just can't do that. Well, there's a technique in Lightroom that you can use to sort of spruce up images. It's using graduated filters. So what I want to do first is take a picture of this beach, and then we'll take that and throw it in Lightroom. So first, let me get a shot of this beach with sort of the black clouds. So first, I'm going to take a shot using my wide angle lens. All right, we've got the beach and the crest. Okay, that looks all right, but we can spruce that up in Lightroom. So we're going to do that next, but before we do, let's check out this contest from Adorama. Well, we're in Lightroom 5 here, and what I've done is I've just loaded in this image that I just shot on the beach, and you can see it's just not very punchy. I'll click out these side panels so you can see it a little bit bigger. And what I've done is I've done some adjustments using some graduated filters, and that's what our end result is going to be. So before, after, you can see it's much, much more dramatic. Now, how did we get there? Let me show you. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to click on the first image, and then I'm going to create a virtual copy. And that way we have something to work on that's not the original, so we can compare the two. All right, so what we'll do now is we're going to go into the Develop module. And inside the Develop module, I need to do a few things. The first thing I want to do is show you exactly what a graduated filter is. So over here on the right-hand side, there's this little square icon. And if you click on that, you'll get this little dialog that pops open. And this allows you to create a graduated filter. Now, to start with, I'm going to create one that has an exposure of -4 stops. And that's going to be very, very obvious what's happening. So over here on my picture, what I'll do is I'll click and drag. And you can see right off the bat that this top area is where the effect is beginning. So this is a 4-stop less exposure. So I've taken the exposure down by 4 stops. And when it hits this line, this filter is going to start fading out. It'll fade out all the way to the second line. And so you can also click on these lines to drag them apart. And that makes this a much less hard transition, much softer transition. Or I can drag these closer together and I get a very abrupt transition. So that's what that's doing. And you can also click on these and you can rotate them so that they're not exactly perfectly horizontal. So you get the center line here, and you can start making these crooked. So you can align them to things like horizons or buildings or whatever, and you can choose how you want that. To get the whole thing and move it, you click on this little dot in the center, you get a hand, and you can move that. And then if you want to get rid of it, you can hit the delete key, poof, away goes the filter. Okay, now that we know what graduated filters is, let's dive in and start working on this image. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to correct some things like the color, the shadows, the exposure of the overall image, the global settings. Now I've already done that, and I saved that as a preset. So I'm just going to click on my preset here, and as soon as I do that, bam, you'll see that this is a much more saturated, vibrant picture. If you're asking exactly what I did, let me just show you here. I changed the color temperature a little bit. I changed the contrast, increased the contrast, changed the highlight, shadows, and the whites, increased the clarity, the vibrance, and then I selectively changed saturation on the greens and then the luminance a little bit on the blues here. So I don't want to go into a great deal on that because we've covered that in past episodes. But that's what I did on the overall image. But it still is lacking. Specifically, the sky is lacking because it's washed out. And the other thing, because of the time of day that I was shooting in, the left-hand side of this image is more exposed than the right-hand side. So you'll see deeper blues on this side and less saturated blues on this side. So let's fix that with a graduated filter. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my graduated filter, and then it's going to ask me what kind of effect that I want. Right here you've got this effect. And what these are sort of they're not presets, but they are settings that will help you get started for doing certain things like changing the temperature or the tint or exposure or contrast. And so if you click on one of those, it'll already have your settings changed for you as a starting point. And so it doesn't matter which one of these you click on, you can still change anything you want inside this graduated filter. But just to get us going, I'm going to click exposure, and I'm going to make my exposure about 1 stop less, about 1 stop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag to the right, and you can see that I'm making the left-hand side of this image darker. So I'll move this over to about right here, and I'm going to take that exposure to about something like that, so that evens out the image, so the left to right is exposed more closely than it was before. And so what we can do here to check that, there's this little teeny box right here that you can click, and that turns the effect off and on, and you can see that, oh, okay, we've evened that out. Maybe I'll drag this out a little bit more to make that a little bit less of an abrupt change. All right, so we've evened out the exposure as best that we can. Ideally, we would have shot at the best time of day, but we couldn't, and so we did that. Well, what I want to do is now I want to add another graduated filter, and you can stack these on top of each other. So to do that, I'm going to close this one, so I'll click close. Then I'm going to open that dialog again, and you can see that now we have a grayed out dot. If I clicked on that, that would open up the last filter, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to create one from scratch. So this one, what I'd like to do is change the color temperature. So I'm going to go over here, click on temp, and you'll see that the color temperature is already -23. I like that. That's going to give us a little bit more blue. So what I'll do here is I'm going to click and drag down, and you can see that that is a very distinct difference. Blue here, sort of bland there. So I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to align it with the horizon. So I'm going to put that right there. Then I'm going to tilt this so it's lined up perfectly with the horizon. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to make some changes here. I'm going to take the exposure down about, I don't know, 3/4 of a stop, something like that. And we're going to add some contrast here, just a little touch. We're going to go in, we're going to open up our shadows quite a bit because our shadows are losing detail. So we'll open those up around 60-ish, 56, looks good. Then we're going to add some clarity. I like to add some clarity to my shadows. That's going to make that look very, very punchy. I'm going to keep going until I see that's about where I want. So about 65, 68 looks like it's going to be good. I'm going to saturate these just a little bit more, just a touch. And then I want the sharpness to really pop out. So I'm going to bring that up to about, I don't know, 35-ish, 34. And so there we have a much, much more dramatic sky. And I can see exactly what I did by clicking this little button. So this is the graduated filters off, graduated filters on. Wow, what a huge difference. Now I'm going to close that. The other thing that I don't like about this is it's just not horizontal enough for me. So as a final touch here, I'm going to go to my crop tool. I'm going to throw this in as a 16:9. And then I'm going to bring this in just a bit. And then we'll use the rule of thirds to make this look a little bit better. We'll line up that horizon so it's level. And I think that about right there is going to do it for me. So I'll just make sure that is square with the horizon. Looks pretty good. I'll take that. And then just like that, we have gone from a blend picture, which was this one. So we had this sort of non-saturated image, and we ended up with this. It's a much, much better looking picture if you ask me. And that's how graduated filters can help you out in a bad lighting situation like we just had. All right, well there you have it, graduated filters in Lightroom. It will help you bail you out when you have a situation where your light isn't perfect like this right here. I hope you can use that. Now don't forget, we have tons of videos on Adorama TV, and you can subscribe to Adorama TV for absolutely free. So click the button and subscribe right now so you don't miss a single thing. And if you have, you can zip over to the Adorama Learning Center. There's videos and articles and all kinds of tips and tricks to help you out with your photography and video making skills. So do that right now. Well, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.